Luvafoodie iced tea. 4 clean drinking iced tea flavors. Lemon lovers, passion fruit lovers, raspberry lovers, and blood orange lovers iced tea. Eat clean, be well, and stay well with our clean eating spice blends at Luvafoodie.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, Luvafoodie LinkedIn Live followers. And today is November 7th. I'm your host, Michelle Mazzara. And I'm very excited to have a guest on today who has really good for you products. Welcome, Diana Levy.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun. Thanks.
Thank you, Diana. I was really excited to have you on because whenever I see something, and I actually saw you on LinkedIn, I think we were already connected, but you were using quinoa in your snacks, and I love quinoa. And so I looked into your business a little bit, and I thought, what a great idea! Why didn't I come up with this? So tell us a little bit about your story, Diana, and how you got started.
Sure. So originally I had a small chocolate business. I had always really wanted to be an entrepreneur, start a business, and I had a bunch of different ideas, not all in food, in fact, mostly not in food. And then I was going to go off on one path as an entrepreneur and didn't really have a lot of resources or know what I was doing. And I explained what I was doing to my husband. He really didn't understand it. And so I sort of looked at the kinds of things he had been involved with on the finance end. He had raised money and done different types of things for companies. And he had bought and sold a lot of chocolate companies. And I had also gotten to know those clients over the years. And I had gone into their factories. I had spoken with them and met with them. And at that point, it sort of hit me. And this is going back before this initial business, going back to about 2013. And I decided that would be the business that I would look into. And I decided to start a chocolate company. And I took some chocolate classes and I had a small chocolate business. And so starting in around 2013, I had Undercover Chocolate Company. And I was really making, just on a very, very small level. I was making products for events, for a couple of different websites. I had one retail store that was selling some things, but it was really, really small. I would rent a commercial kitchen from time to time. And then in 2016, 2 of my 3 daughters, who were teenagers at the time, were diagnosed with celiac disease. And so at that point, I really wanted to change the scope of the business and come up with a product that was cleaner, healthier, better for you. Truly a snack, but also, in the confection space that they could eat that was gluten-free. And so I just literally in my kitchen, day after day, week after week, month after month, I created these recipes for myself and would get every ingredient under the sun and start messing around with it. And at that point, I was pretty good at chocolate. I really knew chocolate. And so I was trying to come up with a snack that used chocolate. And but not a lot of chocolate, sort of just enough chocolate so that it was really delicious and better for you and had other better for you ingredients. And after experimenting for a really long time, I came up with this product. And in March, yep, there it is, Undercover. That's our bestseller, dark chocolate and sea salt. And so my husband really encouraged me to give it a shot. And I made, I had packaging printed. And the first set of packaging I had printed in China. It came back. It didn't work. There was a problem with the packaging. I had to throw it all out. I repacked the packaging again, showed it to somebody at Whole Foods, and they basically came back at that point and said, we'll give you one Whole Foods in Newark, New Jersey in March. In this one, it's September when I showed it to her. And she said, in March 2017, you can get into one Whole Foods in Newark, New Jersey. And so I had but you have to reprint your packaging. So for the second time, I had to reprint my packaging because I had to, follow. I didn't really know what the rules were in terms of Whole Foods packaging. And I got that product I got 4 flavors, I guess, on the shelves of one Whole Foods in Newark, New Jersey in March 2017. And within about an hour on the shelf, the Whole Foods team from the Northeast walked in. The product was selling. I sort of made it in a rented commercial kitchen, brought it in the back of Whole Foods, ran around the front and started demoing it. And I had made it myself and packaged it myself. And delivered it myself and everything. And within about an hour on the shelf, they authorized me to sell throughout the Northeast.
Wow.
So suddenly things started picking up. And then that same week, I was able to have a conversation with somebody at a giant coffee retailer who I won't mention. And they basically said something along the lines of, we'll do a trial of your products in a couple of hundred stores if you can guarantee that you can make enough to sell in as many as 8,000 stores in 3 months if we decide to take it on after the test. And I said, I'm sure there's got to be some way I can do this. I'm, resourceful. I can figure it out. And I flew around the country meeting with different co-manufacturers, and it turned out nobody could make it. So it was super easy, really, and simple for me to make on my own. The co-manufacturers couldn't make.
Why, Diane, I have to interact. Why couldn't, so I'm going to show everybody, why couldn't they make this product? I mean, I've seen, it doesn't look that difficult. It's
right, I thought it couldn't be that difficult. I mean, it didn't seem that difficult. So the reason they couldn't make it is the chocolate manufacturers needed me to add more chocolate to it because they couldn't get that product through the line. Basically, our products are almost 50% crispy quinoa. And then another type of manufacturer might have been a cereal bar manufacturer. And I needed to add some sort of glucose or some other binder besides just chocolate to work with them. And so they couldn't do it, or nobody could do it easily. I would have had to buy, giant pieces of equipment. I would have had to basically rent line time, which would have been very expensive. And then I also was at the risk of having, a larger company come in and just knock me off, or having the co-manufacturer knock me off. And so, but having those two conversations in the same week, and having a husband who had experience in the finance end of the food world, I sort of turned to him and I said, listen, I think it's really unusual to have these two conversations like right out the gate. I think we really have something here. And so he started helping me and getting involved in the business at that point. And then the next step of the business really was me figuring out how to manufacture it ourselves. And so I literally flew around the world and I met with all sorts of equipment manufacturers and engineers, and I designed a custom manufacturing line. And,
wow.
And I worked with engineers and I built an entire state-of-the-art manufacturing line. When at that point I was in a little 2,000 square foot space that was barely, acceptable as a commercial kitchen. And I went to the landlord and I said, listen, what can you trade me up in a space if I buy this equipment? And he said, yes, but you have to sign the lease today because I'm about to give it to somebody else. So super quickly, the next thing I knew, I signed the lease on a 12,000 square foot space, or maybe it was a 14,000 square foot space, and had a menu and was able to, have the resources to purchase a manufacturing line. I purchased a state-of-the-art manufacturing line, even though I wasn't really in very many stores at that point, but we sort of really saw the potential of the business. And we were able to, figure out how to do that from a financial perspective. And so
let me ask you, did your husband quit his job and say, you know what, I'm 100% behind you. I'm going to give you my financial expertise and get involved? Because most people cannot ramp up as fast as you did financially as an entrepreneur. I mean, that's unusual.
It's really very,
so I know. Yeah.
So he initially he was sort of involved on the side. So he was working for himself at that point. It wasn't like he had a job that he had to go to. So he would literally, he would be sitting in the factory doing his work and then helping me whenever I needed help. I mean, that was sort of how it initially began. And just was really supportive, really helpful. And then as things grew, I guess certainly by 2020, he was really doing this full time. He was still doing some of his other business. It was his business, so he could kind of do both at the same time. Now he's pretty much doing this full time with me. I mean, not entirely, but almost entirely full time. And when I'm saying not entirely, I mean, we're both working 80 hours a week. So he's probably working 70 hours a week on Undercover and, maybe 10 hours somewhere else. I mean, we're both, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
So we had by by September 2018, I had a state-of-the-art manufacturing line in and packaging and the ability to really ramp up. And then things ramped up really quickly after that. We always have stayed one step ahead in terms of manufacturing. We became SQF certified by 2019. Costco certified, we're certified at the highest level of food safety and quality. And so we really sort of set ourselves up to be able to manufacture, very, very efficiently at the high, and to be able to go into Costco's, be able to go on airlines, which we're on now, really be able to sell our products anywhere. And we have enormous capacity. And so that was, we did that by, I guess I can't even keep track of the years, but certainly by 2019, at some point I had all of my packaging equipment and we were really ramping up. And now we're in the process of installing I guess we just finished installing a second manufacturing line, which is twice as long as the first line. And so the first line could do 40,000 bags a day. The second line can do 80,000 bags a day or more. And we're going to double the size of the first line now. And so we're probably, by the spring, I think we're going to be in about 20,000 stores at least, if not more. Selling internationally, and we've been, in all different channels now, which is really exciting.
That is such a huge success story. So are you in Costco then?
We've done Costco rotations. Right now we have one rotation going on now in Costco Canada. So we've got some limited distribution in the rest of Canada, and then we're doing a rotation now, which is going really well in Eastern Canada, which is exciting. So it's been fun to go into other countries. We haven't really tried to ramp up internationally, but we're selling really well in Israel, Singapore, Japan, and Canada, where we're selling, and we're probably going to try to ramp things up in Canada pretty soon. And then as other opportunities present themselves, we like to partner with people internationally, but it's really got to be the right fit internationally.
So how did you get into the international business? Was that your husband's connections because he was in the chocolate business? I mean, how do you get a distributor to ship to Israel? I don't know how you do that because
in all honesty, any international business fell in my lap. I didn't look for it. Just at trade shows, people coming up to me and and then I really like the international people selling internationally. It's so complicated. It's such a new territory for us that I really need to sort of know these people well, and I need to have a relationship with them. And the irony is that I really know my international distributors really well. Like my distributor in Singapore, especially over COVID, you couldn't travel, you couldn't go anywhere. And we sort of became friends online. It was sort of funny that it was 9:30 there, 9:30 here. We talk about what was happening in COVID there and here, and the similar kind of things with Israel, with Japan. We really kind of gotten to know our partners really well. And then they basically then take our products in those countries and really do our sales and marketing, and they have their own Instagram accounts. So, we sort of see the international as sort of like its own category, but it's really fun. It's really fun
right.
to do that.
Right. So did you meet those international distributors or buyers at the Fancy Food Show, or what food shows were you at that you met them? Because I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, I know this specialty food show.
Sometime during COVID, the person from Israel reached out to us, and I must have met him at a trade show. And then I subsequently met somebody else from his company this past year at a trade show, but I don't even remember meeting him. Singapore, I honestly don't know. They found us during COVID, all these people. They must have seen stuff that I had done, seen stuff at trade shows, and then they reached out to me. But I didn't find any of them. They all were inbound.
So do you ship in containers to the different countries and then they distribute in so you just ship?
So we ship full containers, usually 40-foot. I mean, to Israel now we're shipping 40-foot containers. Singapore, it's sometimes 20-foot, often 40-foot containers. But yeah, I mean, now internationally, it doesn't even make sense for us to consider anything less than a full container.
What's
because
the shelf life on these? A year?
15 months from the date of manufacture. So it's got
So
a great shelf life, and so it's a it's a good product. I mean, during COVID, there were all sorts of, and still now it's getting better. There are all sorts of shipping delays, but basically, it gets there, and they have enough time to
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 sell
sell
it.
the product, and it sells really well. And it's really fun
See?
for us. I mean, there's nothing. It's so much fun for me when people send me pictures from all these places. It's
Right.
sort of surreal to think that it's like out there in the world, especially during
So,
COVID when we couldn't travel, we couldn't go anywhere, and I'd get like pictures of my products in different places in the world, which was crazy.
right, right. Well, that is very cool. So, Diana, I have to ask you, how did you come up with the name Undercover and the logo? We haven't talked about the little guy in the hat, and the brand name is cute. How did you come up with that?
Well, initially, I had no intention of doing this at this level. Initially, I had just had this small chocolate business, and so I was dipping things in chocolate. And I really wasn't very sophisticated either. So I was making mostly chocolate caramel covered apples and then, covered in chocolate and doing different things for events. And so they were covered in chocolate. It was undercover and it was
Oh,
undercover. And I had absolutely no intention or no idea that I'd really be able to do this. It's not that I had no intention. I really didn't think that it would be possible to do this. And so it was just undercover. I didn't really think that far ahead. And then I
I love the blueberry one.
thank you. Thank you.
I
And then
love olive.
I have a graphic artist who helped me and design the logo and the packaging and most
So
of it.
just by accident, because the chocolate was under something, that's how you just came up with it?
Well, I wanted to come up with a word that was sort of interesting, and I actually, the truth is, I sat with a dictionary and a thesaurus for an entire week, and page by page by page would make a list of words, and then every word that I liked, I would see if the URL was available. I'd go on the to get what's it called?
If trademark, the
The
trademark, yeah,
website. I'd go on the trademark website to see if I could
right.
get it trademarked. And so I'd make a list of words. I literally paged through the entire thesaurus and the dictionary, made a list of words. And then undercover was just one that I was able to trademark, and I was able to get the, a URL that I was happy with. And there was nobody else out there doing that. So that's why that's why I did it. But I didn't really think so far ahead, thinking that I was really going to try to create a big food business at that point. It was just sort of a little idea. My kids were much younger, and then it just sort of evolved. But I always had a lot of positive feedback from the name, and so the name, and it was Undercover Chocolate Company, and now we've kind of gone to the brand being Undercover Snacks. And so the goal is to really introduce other snacks that are healthier, better for you, and still sort of a permissible indulgence.
Nice. That is such a cool story, and I have to say, you have luck around you, an aura of luck, because that is a lot of success without really trying super hard.
No, I tried super hard. You're misinterpreting that part. I've worked like crazy. I mean, literally about 80 hours a week. I mean, when I say I tried super hard, I don't stop. I don't stop
Yeah.
working. I've flown everywhere. I've done everything. This has not been, in fact, I would say
I didn't mean, I
yeah,
just mean like the opportunities that have come to you, like internationally, this early on is huge. The coffee, I don't know, did that materialize in anything?
that didn't materialize. So by the time I figured things out, that opportunity disappeared.
But getting into an airline is huge.
Yeah, but it took a lot. I mean, that was a lot of work. It took years of conversation. I mean, it's not like it just dropped in my lap. I mean, that took
Right.
many conversations, years of work, years of establishing a relationship, and getting the product right for them.
Right. No, I don't mean to say because being any kind of entrepreneur is 80 plus hours a week or more, and working every day and week and holiday, etc. You've just been very successful early on, and kudos to you, and able to ramp up to meet these opportunities is unusual.
Yeah.
That fast I mean, it's great, but that's, are you in all the Whole Foods stores now?
No, we're in 2 regions now. So hoping, I mean, we're doing really well we're in the North Atlantic and the Northeast, and hoping to expand in Whole Foods. So
Have you presented your line to Target or Walmart?
Yep, we're going into Walmart at some point soon. Hoping to go into Target soon. So we've been talking to a lot of them. We're in CVS now. We're in about 1,300 CVS stores. We're in most Rite Aids. We're enterprise wide in Kroger, so we're in all Kroger stores. We're about to announce tomorrow probably that we're just launching in Publix. So we've just launched enterprise. We literally are as soon as somebody shows me a picture, like it should have hit shelves today in Publix. I'm going to make that announcement, but we just basically launched enterprise wide at Publix. We've got a lot of Albertsons banners. Just got a couple more coming in that'll launch in the spring. So we've got almost all the Albertson banners that have our set in it, or we will by the spring. And
do you have, Diana, do you have a sales force then, or a broker? Who's gaining all this distribution for you? Or are you doing it yourself?
I have one salesperson at this point who helps me, and then I have another junior person who sort of supports her and helps in marketing too. And then we've used brokers primarily.
Okay.
For different brokers, different channels.
And then,
and then
are you with?
I do directly though.
Are you with KeHE or UNFI then?
Yeah, so we're in pretty much every KeHE and UNFI warehouse.
Okay.
And so that's been really, that's been obviously really important. And we're also in Dot Foods, and so a lot of our product goes from Dot Foods, and we actually sell to Kroger through Dot Foods, and so that's been really sort of helpful in the pieces of the puzzle. So the first couple of years were sort of laying down the groundwork. It was figuring out how to really expand distribution in KeHE and UNFI, because obviously you've got to be in distribution in order for stores to pick you up, and it's a kind of a chicken and egg scenario. Same kind of thing with Dot Foods. You have to have the business to get to Dot Foods, and then you have to have Dot Foods to get the business. So it's all right. It's all a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario.
Yeah.
So we're starting to sort of, I feel like, enter a new territory where we've laid the groundwork, and now we're really able to build on that, which is fun.
Yeah. Well, I like I said, I got your samples, and I tried the little packets, which I love. I bet you gave these out for Halloween.
So we gave those. I mean, I actually have them with little bats on them and like pumpkins on them for Halloween. So yeah. For Halloween.
Super cute, and you have a holiday one. That's great for the holiday season. The cherry, I love that you combine the dried fruit. You've got cherry one, currant one. I mean, these are real, and I have to say that when I went onto your website, I started looking. Okay, where can I buy these in Minnesota? Because I don't have celiac, and I'm not a gluten. I can eat gluten, but I love these. I love this brand.
Thanks.
I really, really do. And how did you get the quinoa toasted? Do you buy it in bulk toasted, or do you have to toast it?
Right now we have somebody helping with that. It's a proprietary process that sort of involves drying it and basically cooking it at high temperatures, drying it, and toasting it for the most part.
Okay. So what are your number one flavors? The sea salt.
So our
dark chocolate.
Yep. So our best seller is dark chocolate and sea salt. My favorite flavor is actually milk chocolate, just plain milk chocolate, although sometimes I'll be sort of in the mood more for dark chocolate. Excuse me, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, sorry. Um, but they're all really delicious.
Do you need some more water? I know sometimes you can talk a lot and your throat gets dry. So
Thanks.
I think that these are fantastic. Obviously, online, we can buy these on your website. You're on Amazon, I'm sure.
Yes, we're on Amazon. We sell on our website, which is undercoversnacks.com. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And we're really in broadly distributed now in grocery.
Right, right. And if you get into Target and Walmart, then you'll be national. I mean,
Right.
you already are national with the grocery with Kroger and Publix. Those are national chains.
Yeah. So
So
we're already not. There's no states that we're not in at this point. I mean, we're in a lot of we're in a lot of the regional grocery stores. We're in, like I said, most Albertsons banners. So we're pretty well distributed at this point.
right. So Diana, you said your daughters are involved in your company. Are they all involved, or just the old?
So my oldest one is sort of formally involved. She's our marketing manager. So she works full time for Undercover. This is sort of her job, or this is her job. My other two daughters now are seniors in college, and so they're both really involved. They're just, I mean, with two parents and a sister who are doing this, around the clock, there's sort of no choice but to be involved. And so they work as brand ambassadors. They're involved in ways, however they can. I don't think that either one of them. Well, I know one of them for sure is not doing this after college, and the other one, I don't think she is. So I
Okay,
don't think they're going to come into the business, at least not right away.
okay. And you mentioned branching into other good for you snacks. Would that be maybe a savory, like using the toasted quinoa, but with maybe herbs?
Yeah, so that's one thing that we're looking at. We're looking at savory. We're looking at other things like chocolate. There's a lot of different directions that we can go. So experimenting with some different things. So
Right.
we're getting our second line sort of up and running. We have a new process that we're going to be adding in the next couple of months. And once we get that really down, and we always like to try to stay ahead of ourselves and sort of our ability before we're rolling things out too quickly. Then we'll make announcements and we'll roll out some other things.
Okay. So ultimately, I mean, you've been doing this successfully since what, 2017?
So this product is, I got into One Whole Foods March 1st, 2017. So that, in my mind, that's sort of the start date. And then we ramped up since then.
So is this ultimately, do you want to sell your brand I mean, you and your husband are the sole owners. You don't have any investors?
No, we do have investors. We do have
Oh, you
investors.
do have investors.
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be to exit like in 5 years and sell it to like, a big company, or do you see this like something you want to do for the next 10 to 15 years?
I think it's a little too soon for us to say. At this point, we're just really focused on building the brand, building the company, and and we'll sort of see where it goes from there.
Okay. So based on the fact that you've got all this distribution and been pretty successful, what challenges are you facing today, if any?
Oh my God, that's an understatement. First of all, we manufacture. So, I mean, the challenges, from that perspective are just, at some point you sort of learn how to just sort of every day, it's like another fire drill, and you deal with it. But so that's just challenging, and it's fun. It's exciting. I mean, we're, from a manufacturing standpoint, I keep adding space. And so I keep calling up the landlord, and I'm like, how soon can we get this space and this space? And we've, now added, I mean, since I bumped up to the initial 12,000 square feet, we're now We're now at about 40,000 square feet and hoping to take another 5,000 square feet if they'll give it to us. So one challenge has just sort of been growing and getting the space we need to grow. Getting the electricity we need for the equipment is challenging. I mean, we've got to do things like upgrade electricity panels. So all sorts of things from a manufacturing perspective that, you know, go beyond just making the food. It's being able to power the plant and have enough space and room to build out, you know, big displays, whether it's for Costco or anybody else, and logistically being able to organize that. That's really challenging. In terms of sales, I mean, obviously that's challenging. But I think because we manufacture, we're able to pivot really quickly. And so, you know, when we see opportunities, or if there's a retailer that's sort of, you know, excited about fruit flavors, for example, I can, like, on a dime, create a exclusive fruit flavor and turn it around and get it to them, get a prototype to them and get it to them and give it to them. And I know how to do it. I know I designed the equipment, I designed the whole process. So I know if I can do it while I'm on the call with them, and then I can do it super quickly. Could do that with packaging too. I mean, I know I actually purchased all the packaging equipment. So I know in a conversation how much I can get to them, whether we can successfully fill orders, whether we can do a different type of product. I can, you know, work with people on the fly. We were able to do that during COVID. I think one reason we grew a lot during COVID was a lot of bigger brands and smaller brands had out of stocks, had supply chain issues.
Yep.
And so we're in this really unique situation where our two best-selling flavors, dark chocolate and sea salt and milk chocolate, are really two ingredients. I mean, it's quinoa and chocolate, and
Right.
they both have long shelf lives, and we, you know, are able to contract and have huge quantities of them sort of at our disposal and available, and because we have a factory, we can hold on to them. And so and our packaging is all sourced and printed in the United States. And so we had no supply chain issues. So when you know, from the beginning of COVID, there would be space on a truck that needed to go out, and people couldn't fill it, and retailers had empty store space, and on a, you know, super fast, we could turn around and fill it. Other major retailers, even in the last couple of months, have had other brands with supply chain issues and have reached out to us and said things along the line of, can you get products into 1,300 stores if we give you a PO next week? And the answer is, yeah, you know, bring it on, we can do it. And that's how we're picking up space right now. Because I can, you know,
Right.
if Costco has an opening and they have an opening, there's not a whole lot, certainly not a lot of challenger brands or smaller brands that can just be like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So the risk that you took to grow as fast as you did manufacturing was well worth it, because not every yeah. And that was a risk for you to do at the time.
Oh my God. That was an enormous risk. And everybody, we made that decision ultimately made that decision in 2017. I had to sign the contracts to purchase that equipment. Everybody in the food space looked at us and rolled their eyes and said it was a mistake. Everybody. And then come COVID, and people had all these problems. And now we have exactly the opposite reaction, where every buyer is like, oh, thank goodness you have your own manufacturing, because they all got burnt during COVID. They all had problems. And we have no supply chain issues. We can just do it all.
That's great.
And we can get it out there. And it's us, it's our business. And I mean, there was one point during COVID where we had a big order that had to get out, and 100% of my workforce got COVID, including me, except for my husband. He was the only one because he had already had it. And so from the background, I was able to get a whole bunch of high school. It was during Christmas break, get a whole bunch of high school students in. He held down the fort day and night for several days, because we're now manufacturing 24 hours a day, until we could get that out. And we got it out. We didn't miss a beat. And from the outside, it looked like, you know, it looked perfect and easy from the, it was, it was really, really hard. I mean, I had to find 20 teenagers in, 3 hours to come in here and start packing stuff out, and,
Right.
and we were able to do it. So, and that's, again, this is our business, this is our life. So we'll do,
Right.
we'll just like literally do what it takes, but it always gets out the door.
Right. Well, that is a huge, huge kudos to you and your husband and figuring things out and being so adaptable and flexible and easy to work with. I can see why you've gained all this distribution, because that puts you in a very unique spot and differentiates you from everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. So Diana, I think we can wrap up pretty soon, but what advice do you have for other women entrepreneurs wanting to get into the good for you healthy snacks? I mean, you have been very successful and are a good role model for anyone out there who's watching and listening.
I mean, I guess, the one thing that I wish I'd done was just get started earlier. I mean, I think that I always felt like I had to have the perfect idea, that I had to have the perfect business plan, that I had to sort of really know where I was going before I started. And there was really in retrospect, there was no way to do that. It's sort of like one decision led to another decision. We developed the business plan as we went because there was no real way to understand any of what we were doing, and everything that we were doing kept changing.
Right.
And just being able to be flexible, so you're not too deep in at any given point, or you're not deeper than you can afford to be, basically. But just getting going, like, I mean, even if you take a sticker and put it on a bag and just go out and sell it at a farm, whatever it is, you're going to learn something at that point, and it doesn't have to be perfect the day you start.
Absolutely. And I would say the same for me. People were like, what's your business plan? Well, 8 years ago, Luvafoodie wasn't a spice company or an iced tea company. It was a website for social. It was a social website. I mean, so you have to learn to pivot as an entrepreneur, and the business plan may change. I mean, so not everything is black and white. And I think just starting, like you said, and not being afraid to just begin is key for everybody who's watching and listening. Well, it's been a pleasure to get to know you today. Everybody, I have to say, these are fantastic. I know a lot of my friends, a lot of people have celiac disease, and they're wanting, and it's clean. I mean, I try to have only clean products on my show, and it's clean, it's kosher certified, it's gluten-free, it's Rainforest Alliance. What does that mean?
Rainforest Alliance certified. It's sort of like it's similar to fair trade. It just means good hiring practices, sustainable, concern for the environment as they're harvesting the cocoa and as they're growing the cocoa.
Yep. So, and it's woman owned, which I love. So you've got all the right little stickers on the back, or all the little logos. And I encourage everybody, Christmas is coming up, Hanukkah's coming up. These make great stocking stuffers, great gifts. If you've got teachers, or, like I say to people, everybody has to eat. And I had never heard of this brand before. And now I know about it. I'm going to tell all my friends that have issues or are health conscious like I am to try it. And I would encourage everybody to give these for holiday gifts this year. They're great. I love it.
Thank you.
And I can't wait, Diana, to see what you and your husband come out with next, because I know whatever it is, whether it's chocolate-based or savory-based, it's going to be fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very nice to meet you and talk to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Diana. Have a great continued success. I know you will be, and I know I'll see these like on every shelf soon.
Oh,
in Target, Walmart, all over.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hi, I've got to try your spice blends. Those look great.